Chapter 206. Afterwards, Xianxia also temporarily walked together with this group of mercenaries. After chatting for a while, the relationship between Xianxia and this group of mercenaries unknowingly became much closer. At the same time, Xianxia also gained some understanding of this group of mercenaries. This mercenary group was a small mercenary group called the Brotherhood. There were a total of 80 people in the group. Aside from the leader, who was a high-level Saint Master, there were 5 other Saint Masters. As for the rest, they were all great saints and saints. Because it was already late at night, Xianxia and the members of the Brotherhood mercenary group chatted for a while before going to rest. Xianxia took out a tent from his spatial belt and set it up. Afterwards, he took out 2 monster cores and entered a state of cultivation. The energy within the monster cores was absorbed by Xianxia at an extremely terrifying speed. However, what was different from before was that as soon as the energy entered Xianxia's body, it all rushed towards the sword spirits in Xianxia's dantian. Unexpectedly, not a single bit of it was absorbed by Xianxia. The sword spirits were currently very weak. Their strength was not even 1/10,000th of their peak strength. Therefore, Xianxia was not in a hurry to increase his strength. Instead, he poured the energy from the monster cores into the sword spirits to speed up their recovery. This was because he could already borrow a portion of the sword spirit's strength. As the sword spirit's strength increased, the amount of energy he could borrow would also increase. Moreover, Xianxia's strength had just broken through to Great Saint Master. He did not dare to continue increasing his strength like before. Although the berserk energy from the monster cores would be absorbed by the sword spirits, increasing his strength too quickly would only lead to an unstable foundation. This would have a huge impact on the future. The speed at which the sword spirits absorbed the energy from the monster cores was extremely fast. It was much faster than Xianxia's consumption when he cultivated in the past. A Class 4 monster core was completely absorbed by the sword spirits in just 2 hours. Xianxia took a deep breath. Right now, he was shocked by the speed at which the sword spirits absorbed the energy from the monster cores. He did not know whether it was because the sword spirits had become stronger than before or because they had deliberately suppressed their rate of absorption. In short, the rate at which the sword spirits were absorbing the energy from the monster cores was much faster. It was much faster. A Class 4 monster core was completely consumed in just 2 hours. Such a terrifying consumption rate shocked Xianxia once again. After all, a Class 4 monster core was not a Class 3 monster core. If he consumed a Class 3 monster core every 2 hours, Xianxia could still barely endure it. However, consuming a Class 4 monster core in just 2 hours, Xianxia felt that he would not be able to endure. However, consuming a Class 4 monster core was a bit. Although it was easy for him to kill Class 4 magical beasts with his current strength, Class 4 magical beasts were not as numerous as Class 3 magical beasts or Class 2 magical beasts. Sigh. Consuming a Class 4 monster core in just 2 hours means consuming 12 Class 4 monster cores in a day. How can I afford this? Xianxia secretly sighed. His brows, which had just relaxed for a short while, furrowed once again. The night was very quiet. In the quiet camp, snoring sounds could be heard from time to time. Early in the morning, when the sun had just risen from the horizon and revealed its rosy face, the sound of conversation could be heard from outside the loyal mercenary group's tent. Following this, there were also the crackling sounds of wood being burned. Xianxia, who was sitting cross-legged in the tent, slowly opened his eyes. He immediately walked out of the tent and casually swept his gaze around. He saw that there were already more than 40 people moving about. Some were starting fires, some were putting away tents, and some were feeding their mounts. They looked very busy. In some of the tents, there were still burly men continuously climbing out. All of them had hazy eyes and were constantly yawning. It was obvious that they did not sleep well. Xianxia shook his head slightly, then turned around and began to put away his tent. Hey, Xianxia, did you sleep well last night? At this moment, a slightly deep voice sounded from not far away. Hearing this voice, Xianxia turned around and saw a burly, bare-chested burly man walking towards him. Xianxia recognized this person. It was the leader of the loyal mercenary group, heard of. And not bad. Jianshin replied with a smile. He did not sleep at all last night. To be more precise, Jianshin had rarely slept since he was young. Moreover, ever since he became a saint, he slept even less. He spent almost every night cultivating. Sleeping was nothing more than exhausting one's spirit during the day and needed sleep to recover. Once a person entered a deep sleep, their mind would go blank and enter a state of emptiness. In this state, they would not be able to feel the passage of time. Ordinary people used this most basic method to recover their spirit during the day. What was different for martial artists was that when they entered a state of cultivation, their spirit would also enter a state of emptiness. In this state, not only could his spirit recover, but the recovery speed was also much faster than when he was sleeping. Sleeping was actually a way to recover one's spirit. For some people with strong enough spirit, it was very normal for them to not sleep for several days and nights. After breakfast, the members of the loyal mercenary group immediately set off on their journey. Since Jianshin didn't have a mount, he sat in a carriage filled with goods as they made their way towards Wake City. In the blink of an eye, Jianshin and the loyal mercenary group had been on the road for a day. During this time, Jianshin would occasionally chat with some of the mercenaries. Unknowingly, their relationship seemed to have deepened. At this moment, Jianshin, who was sitting cross-legged in the carriage, suddenly had a change in expression. His slightly closed eyes suddenly opened and he looked forward with a sharp gaze. He shouted, "Everyone be careful, there is movement in front of us. It should be a magical beast rushing towards us." Hearing Jianshin's shout, the group immediately stopped and looked forward with sharp eyes. But after looking for a while, there was nothing abnormal in front of them. "Jianshin, you are too sensitive. Everything here is normal, there is no movement at all." One of the mercenaries turned to look at Jianshin and complained. "Yes, Jianshin, you can't say such things so casually. In the future, before things are clear, you should stop joking like this." This time, it was the leader of the loyal mercenary group, Herdoff, who spoke with a reproachful tone. However, just as Herdoff finished speaking, the ground suddenly began to tremble. "Leader, there really is movement. Pay attention to the ground." One of the mercenaries standing on the ground was the first to discover the movement and immediately reported to Herdoff. "The ground is shaking. Could it be that a cavalry team is passing by here? Could it be that we have encountered a group of magical beasts?" Following this person's words, the rest of the loyal mercenary group also discovered the movement on the ground. Their expressions became serious as they started to guess. "Alert, alert, get ready for battle." Herdoff didn't hesitate at all as he yelled out his orders. Chapter 207. The trembling of the ground was getting more and more intense, but they still couldn't see what was causing the commotion. Everyone in the Brotherhood mercenary group began to tense up. Their faces were extremely serious as they stared in front of them. It was rare to see such a strong commotion from so far away. At this moment, they all realized that if there really was a magic beast in front of them like Jianshin said, then it must be very powerful. "Everyone be careful. If we can't fight it, then we should all scatter and run," Herdoff said with a heavy tone. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing a luxurious robe walked up from behind Herdoff. He worriedly asked, "Captain Herdoff, what happened? I just heard that a magic beast was heading towards us. Could it be true?" "Mr. Harry, you should back off first. We don't have a clear picture of the situation yet, but from the commotion in front of us, if it's not a large group of cavalry, then it's very likely to be a large magic beast and more than one." Although Herdoff's tone was calm, everyone could hear the seriousness in his voice. "Then can we protect these goods?" the middle-aged man asked again. "It's very difficult." Herdoff shook his head and said, "Mr. Harry, you should prepare to run for your life. If it's just a large group of cavalry, then it's fine. But if it's a magic beast? Mr. Harry, you know the consequences." AI. Hearing Herdoff's words, the middle-aged man let out a heavy sigh. These goods were all his, and he was the one who hired the Brotherhood mercenary group to escort them to Wake City. If they couldn't protect these goods, then the losses would be irreparable. This was because the funds for these goods were almost all of his savings from doing business over the years. Jianshin sat cross-legged in the carriage filled with goods. His eyes were also fixed in front of him, but compared to the others, he was much calmer. His expression was calm, and there wasn't a trace of panic in his eyes. At this moment, a small gray finally appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This little gray wasn't running very fast, but every step it took caused the surrounding ground to tremble slightly. This tremor continued to spread to a radius of several kilometers. At this moment, everyone finally saw the culprit that caused the ground to tremble. It really was a magic beast. The faces of the group of mercenaries couldn't help but become a little pale. If this was caused by humans, then it would be fine. At most, they would just have to make way or bribe them with some money. But if they encountered a magical beast, then other than fighting or running away, there was no other choice. In front of him was a humanoid magical beast that looked like a gorilla. It was 10 meters tall and had brown fur all over its body. It stood up like a human and ran forward step by step, mimicking the steps of a human. That's actually a war beast. Looking at the magic beast in front of him, Herdolf's face suddenly became very interesting. The serious expression between his brows also loosened a lot. War beasts, as the name suggests, seem to be born for war. Not only were their bodies terrifyingly strong, but their strength was also limitless. They could directly overturn a city wall. Moreover, these magic beasts were also known as the children of the earth. They were the favored children of Mother Earth. They were born to control the earth. Depending on their strength, a single step could cause an earthquake of a few kilometers or even 100 kilometers. If a powerful war beast or several war beasts were to take a step at the same time, then the earthquake could cause a city wall 10 kilometers away to collapse. Although this was the case, the war beast's single attack was pitifully weak, and their speed was their weakness. Although there weren't many war beasts in the Tianyuan continent, they weren't rare either. Almost every powerful country had a few war beasts as slaves. Captain, that's a war beast. Its defense is very strong, but its attack is very weak. Its speed is also very slow. What should we do? Should we go all out and chase it away? A mercenary from the loyal mercenary group asked. No wonder it could cause such a big commotion. So it's a war beast. Since it's a war beast, then it'll be much easier. Herdolf's face revealed a cold smile. Brothers, the war beast isn't much of a threat to us. Let's go chase it away. Okay. Immediately, a group of mercenaries jumped down from their seats and charged towards the war behemoth with Herdolf. Xianxia sat in the carriage filled with goods. Looking at the war beast that was only 500 meters away from them, he quickly recalled some information about the war beasts in his mind. The war beast's strength is measured by its size. It's said that the war beasts that have reached the 6th rank are around 100 meters tall. The 5th rank war beasts are around 50 meters tall, and the 3rd rank war beasts are around 10 meters tall. Judging from this war beast should be a 4th rank magical beast. Xianxia muttered to himself. The war beast's defense is very strong. Even the magic crystal cannons can't do any damage to them. Moreover, as their strength increases, their defense becomes even more terrifying. It's very difficult to kill them. It's said that even in ancient times, the Dragon Clan, who stood at the peak of the magical beast world, couldn't compare with the war beasts in terms of defense. I wonder if I can break through this war beast's defense. Roar! Seeing the loyal mercenary group rushing towards it like ants, the war beast let out a loud roar towards the sky. Immediately after, it stomped heavily on the ground. Bang! Following a muffled sound, the ground within a radius of a few kilometers began to shake violently. Cracks the width of a palm quickly spread in all directions like a spider web, quickly covering the entire ground within a radius of a few kilometers. The violent shaking of the ground caused the dozen or so carriages filled with goods to shake violently. The shaking was so strong that even Xianxia, who was sitting on top of one of the carriages, was unable to control his body. Immediately after, he flipped over and landed on the ground. Crunch, crunch. The carriages continuously made sounds that sounded like they were in pain. Some of the goods piled on top of the carriages rolled to the ground one after another. Not long after, the dozen or so carriages all fell apart. This kind of earthquake didn't have much of an effect on the loyal mercenary group. Several dozen people quickly arrived at the foot of the war behemoth. Several dozen saint weapons with strong saint force ruthlessly hacked at the war behemoth. However, the war beast wasn't harmed in the slightest. Not even a single hair on the war beast's body was cut off. The war beast let out an angry roar. It lifted one of its large feet again and ruthlessly stomped on the head of a nearby mercenary. Chapter 208. The war beast's defense is too strong. Everyone, let's attack with all we've got. Headoff yelled. As soon as he finished speaking, a large amount of holy force gathered on the holy weapon in his hand. With a loud roar, the holy weapon emitted a powerful wave of holy force as it slashed towards the war beast. When Herdov's attack landed on the war behemoth's body, the result was the same as before. Not only was he unable to cause any damage to the war behemoth, he didn't even manage to cut off a single hair on its body. Damn it! Headoff couldn't help but curse under his breath. How can this war beast's defense be so strong? It's just standing there for me to kill, but I can't even kill it. Captain, this war beast's defense is too strong. We can't even hurt it. What do we do now? Should we avoid it? A mercenary asked loudly. Captain, this war beast should be a class 4 magical beast. Even a great saint master wouldn't be able to harm it. With our strength, we won't be able to chase it away. It's best if we avoid it. A middle-aged man wearing a gray gown with a resolute face said in a deep voice. Yeah, Captain, we can't do anything to this war beast. Hearing the discussions of the mercenaries, Herdov didn't hesitate and immediately shouted, Brothers, go and chase the carriages away, we need to stall the war behemoth. Immediately, a dozen people quickly ran back, intending to drive the carriages full of goods in the opposite direction. However, when they arrived in front of the carriages, they were all dumbfounded, because at this moment, the carriages had all fallen apart, and there was no way to drive them away. Shit, what do we do? There's so many goods. Even if we put all of our portal belts together, we can't fit all of them. The mercenaries were in a dilemma. Even the owner of the carriages, Mr. Harry, had a bitter look on his face. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the ground began to shake violently once again. The war behemoth stomped its heavy footsteps, carrying an indomitable aura as it walked towards the broken carriages. As for the loyal mercenaries who were constantly harassing it, it was a rare sight that the war behemoth didn't even care about them. Shit, it's coming. Mr. Harry, let's put the valuables in our portal belts first. There's no way we can take everything with us. Looking at the approaching war behemoth, a mercenary said anxiously to the middle-aged man with a weak face. But these goods are very important. They are almost all of my belongings. If I give them up just like that, I will suffer a great loss. Moreover, my space belt is not big. I can't carry many things with me. Mr. Harry had a long face as he looked at the goods that filled more than a dozen carriages. His face was full of heartache and unwillingness. Everyone, don't panic. Let me deal with this war beast. I can stop it. Just when the mercenaries and Mr. Harry were in a panic, a calm voice suddenly came from the side. Hearing this, the mercenaries all subconsciously turned their heads. The person who spoke was actually Xianxia, who didn't participate in the battle. A few mercenaries and Mr. Harry all stared at Xianxia's face. He looked like he was in his 20s. They clearly didn't believe him. One of the mercenaries couldn't help but ask, What did you say? Xianxia, you stopped the battle beasts. Xianxia, this is a war beast with an extremely high defense, and it has a class 4 monster core. Unless we have an Earth Saint Master here, even a great Saint Master won't be able to stop the war beast's advance. One of the experienced mercenaries said. They didn't believe that Xianxia had the strength to stop a class 4 war beast at such a young age. Xianxia only smiled in response to everyone's questioning. He didn't explain anything. Then he stomped off the ground and shot up like a cannonball, charging toward the war behemoth 100 meters away. Xianxia's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of the war beast. Immediately after, a long silver sword appeared in his hand. Carrying a sharp sword chi, it turned into a silver light and pierced towards the war beast's forehead. When the tip of the light wind sword came into contact with the war beast's forehead, It was unable to advance any further. Xianxia's face slightly changed. The resistance from the light wind sword made him suspect that the war beast in front of him wasn't a magic beast, but a piece of iron. The war beast let out an angry roar. Its two fist-sized eyes were filled with bloodlust as it stared at Xianxia. It swung its arms towards Xianxia. Xianxia somersaulted in the air and landed on the ground. His eyes were serious as he stared at the war beast in front of him. In a low voice, he said, "What a strong defense. It's actually much stronger than what I expected." No wonder the rumors said that the war beast couldn't even be damaged by the magic crystal cannons. This sword strike had only left a very shallow mark on the war beast's forehead. It hadn't done any real damage. Although Xianxia hadn't used his full strength, Xianxia knew that with his current strength, even if he used his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to break through the war beast's defense. The defense of the war beasts was renowned throughout the Tianyuan continent. It was rumored that no opponent of the same level, be it magical beasts or humans, would be able to harm the war beasts. Even if humans used powerful battle skills, they would only be able to injure the war beast slightly. For a war beast that had reached the 4th rank, even an Earth Saint Master would have to expend a lot of effort to kill it. Boom, boom, boom. The war beast stared at Xianxia as it walked step by step towards Xianxia. The war beast's previous strike had caused it to feel a bit of pain. "Xianxia, hurry up and run. The war beast is coming for you." Head-Off shouted at Xianxia. However, Xianxia ignored Head-Off's warning. Instead, he stared at the approaching war behemoth. Suddenly, the light wind sword began to emit a faint purple and green light. The war beast arrived in front of Xianxia and let out a loud roar as it raised its foot to stomp down on Xianxia. Xianxia dodged the war beast's foot and leapt into the air, once again arriving in front of the war beast's forehead. The light wind sword in his hand glowed with a faint purple and green light as it pierced towards the war beast. This time, when the tip of the light wind sword came into contact with the war behemoth's forehead, it was as if the war behemoth's defense was no longer there, and the light wind sword easily broke through. In the end, the light wind sword actually managed to pierce through the war behemoth's skull with ease. This time, the war beast's defense was as weak as a piece of tofu. When Xianxia's light wind sword pierced through, he didn't feel the slightest bit of resistance. A whir! The war beast let out a miserable roar. The sound was so loud that it seemed to resound through the heavens and earth. When the sound gradually dissipated, the war beast's huge body slowly fell to the ground. Xianxia pulled out the light wind sword that was covered in blood and spun a few times in the air before landing on the ground. Chapter 209. Looking at the fallen war behemoth, the faces of the surrounding loyal mercenaries suddenly became sluggish. At this moment, everyone stopped what they were doing and stood there stiffly. Their eyes stared blankly at the war behemoth that fell on the ground with blood flowing out of its forehead. Their faces were full of disbelief. The war beast in front of them had the strength of a Class 4 magical beast. Its powerful defense was something they had experienced firsthand. Even a great Saint Master would find it difficult to injure it. Even an Earth Saint Master would have to use a powerful battle skill to kill it. However, at this moment, the defensive beast in front of them was actually killed by a young man in his early 20s. How could they not be shocked? Especially since this young man was one of the people who went to Wake City with their caravan. Only now did the members of the Loyal Spirit Mercenary Group realize that the youth who had followed them to Wake City was actually a powerhouse who didn't reveal his true strength. Xianxia did not pay attention to the shocked members of the Loyal Mercenary Group. At this moment, his heart was in turmoil. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The power of the Azure Sword Chi was just too strong. Even though Xianxia had mentally prepared himself, he was still shocked by the power of the Azure Sword Chi. Xianxia had tested the war beast's defense before. From the first strike, he could tell that even if he used all of his strength, it would be very difficult to break through the war beast's defense and cause any substantial damage. In order to injure it, perhaps only an Earth Saint Master would be able to do so. However, in front of the Azure Sword Chi, such a strong defense was as weak as tofu. It was so weak that when Xianxia's light wind sword pierced the war beast's head, he did not feel the slightest bit of resistance. At this moment, Jianshan finally understood just how terrifying the Azure Sword Qi was. Although the strength of the Azure Sword Qi was closely related to the Azure Sword Spirit, even if the Azure Sword Spirit was incomparably weak, the Azure Sword Qi it contained was still terrifying. At this moment, Jianshan suddenly felt that he already had the strength to fight an Earth Saint Master. The war beasts are dead. Oh heavens, the war behemoth was actually killed. That's a war behemoth that reached the 4th rank. After a while, someone finally returned to their senses. They all cried out in shock. Afterwards, the way they looked at Jianshan completely changed. Quite a few gazes of admiration were cast on Jianshan. The leader of the loyal mercenary group, Herdolf, took a deep breath and looked at the huge body of the war behemoth. He stood up and looked at Jianshan with a complicated expression. After hesitating for a while, he finally walked over. Jianshan, I didn't think that you were such a hidden expert. AI, it's really hard to believe. At your age, you actually have the strength to kill a war behemoth. However, I still have to represent the loyal mercenary group to thank you for helping us solve this big problem. Herdolf looked at Jianshan with a complicated expression and said in a very sincere tone. Hearing this, Jianshan gradually recovered from his shock. He smiled at Herdolf and said, "It's just a small matter. Leader, you don't have to be so polite. Moreover, since we're going the same way, I should help out a little if we meet any problems along the way." Jianshan and Herdolf politely exchanged a few words before going off to do other things. The loyal mercenary group also split into 2 groups. One group went to repair the damaged carriage, while the other went to deal with the war behemoth's body. Although the mercenaries wanted to transport the war behemoth's corpse and sell it, they were helpless as the war behemoth's body was just too big and heavy. They couldn't move it at all, so they could only unwillingly abandon it in the wilderness. In the end, Jianshan had to take the monster core out of its body. The damaged carriage was repaired very quickly. After that, the group once again set out on their journey to Wake City. However, Jianshan was now sitting on the best mount in the group. The owner of the goods, Mr. Harry, followed beside Jianshan with a charming smile on his face as he tried to befriend Jianshan. At this moment, Herdolf's heart suddenly skipped a beat. He hesitated for a moment before saying to Jianshan, "Jianshan, you look so young. You must have just come to the Tianyuan continent." Jianshan nodded slightly. "Yes, that's right. I've only been out for 2 to 3 years. Then are you willing to join our loyal mercenary group? We may not be powerful, but we're all very united. At the same time, we've roamed the Tianyuan continent for many years now, so we're extremely experienced. We'll be able to familiarize you with the continent faster if you stay with us. After all, the Tianyuan continent is extremely dangerous. A few bald and inexperienced experts will suffer quite a few hidden losses." Herdolf stared at Jianshan with a hopeful look. After seeing Jianshan's strength, he wanted to rope him in. Jianshan smiled apologetically, "Thank you for your appreciation, but I've already joined the mercenary group." "Oh, that's really a pity." Herdolf's face was filled with disappointment. After a slight pause, he casually said, "Since Jianshan has taken a fancy to this mercenary group, it must be very strong." Jianshan bitterly smiled and shook his head. "Including me, there are only 2 people in our mercenary group, and I am the leader." Hearing this, Herdolf stared at Jianshan with a strange expression. He didn't say anything else and lowered his head in thought. The caravan slowly moved towards Wake City. On the way, Jianshan's position in the mercenary group had completely changed. Everyone was extremely respectful to him, far surpassing Herdolf. Even Herdolf's attitude towards Jianshan had become much more intimate. The rest of the journey was very peaceful. After traveling for 3 days, the caravan finally arrived at the border of Wake City. From here, Jianshan could already see the magical Beast Mountain range, which was only 20 kilometers away from Wake City. In front of them, the tall walls of Wake City could be clearly seen. Compared to a year ago, Wake City didn't seem to have changed in the slightest. The only difference was that there were many more soldiers standing guard on the walls, and there were also many more guards guarding the gates compared to the last time Jianshan was here. Looking at the old walls that had been washed by the passage of time, Jianshan couldn't help but recall the time when he was chased by the Tianxiong clan and was forced to flee. Chapter 210. The caravan smoothly entered Wake City, and Jianshan officially parted ways with the Brotherhood mercenary group. After returning his mount to the Brotherhood mercenary group, he left by himself. Seeing Jianshan gradually disappear into the crowd, Herdoff revealed a hesitant expression. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then he gritted his teeth as if he had made up his mind about something. He turned to the Brotherhood mercenary group and said, "Brothers, when the goods are delivered to the destination, don't disperse. I have something to announce to everyone." "Yes, leader." The members of the loyal mercenary group answered in unison. Although they were all very puzzled, no one asked. Jianshan leisurely strolled through the streets. He didn't know why, but he felt that the atmosphere in Wake City was more solemn than the last time he was here. It was as if something big was about to happen. At this time, Jianshan passed by a restaurant. A fragrant smell wafted out of the restaurant and into Jianshan's nose. Smelling the unique aroma that could only be found in food, Jianshan stopped subconsciously before making his way into the restaurant. After living in the Huang family village for more than a month, Jianshan had only eaten simple tea and plain food. It had been a long time since he had eaten delicious food. Under the warm greetings of the restaurant's waiter, Jianshan sat down at a table near the window and casually ordered some food. It was almost noon, and the originally empty restaurant was soon full. A large group of tall and sturdy men sat in front of a table and talked loudly. The entire restaurant was in a clamor. "I wonder when this wave of demonic beasts will come and how long it will last. The City Lord's mansion has already announced that the demon beast wave will come in a few days. But according to the previous situation, the demon beast wave will last for a few to 10 days. At this time, a few conversations entered Jianshan's ears. Hearing this, Jianshan slightly frowned. After thinking for a while, he muttered, "Demon beast wave, could it be that the demon beasts in the magical Beast Mountain range are coming to besiege Wake City? No wonder I felt that the atmosphere in Wake City was much more solemn than before." After that, Jianshan sat in front of a table and ate while listening to the conversations of the people in the restaurant. From them, Jianshan obtained a lot of useful information. "Hey, look, aren't those people from the Zhou mercenary group?" A voice suddenly entered Jianshan's ears. When he heard this voice, Jianshan's hand froze in midair. He slightly raised his head and stared at the entrance of the restaurant. He saw 4 armored mercenaries walking in. The armor of these 4 mercenaries was exactly the same. On the left side of their chest, there was an identical emblem. Aside from not wearing a helmet, they were exactly the same as the Zhou mercenary group that Jianshan met in the magical Beast Mountain range a year ago. The 4 members of the Zhou mercenary group sat down at an empty table not too far away from Jianshan. After ordering their food, they began to whisper to each other. When the 4 of them walked in, the people in the restaurant immediately changed the topic of conversation to the Zhou mercenary group. "I heard that the leader of the Zhou mercenary group, Zhou Yun, broke through from the high-level Saint Master realm to the Great Saint Master realm 3 months ago. With a Great Saint Master in the group, the Zhou mercenary group's strength is now much stronger than before. In Wake City, the Zhou mercenary group can do whatever they want." That's right. Ever since Zhou Yun broke through to the Great Saint Master realm, the Zhou mercenary group's strength has been rapidly increasing. Right now, their mercenary group already has over 100 people. In addition, they have the support of the Zhou clan behind them. I'm afraid that the Zhou mercenary group's strength can easily squeeze into the top 3 in the entire Wake City. Many people in the restaurant were discussing in low voices. Although their voices were very soft, everyone present had a certain level of strength, so they could easily hear these discussions. Hearing everyone talk about their mercenary group's achievements, the 4 Zhou mercenary group members sitting not far from Jianshan couldn't help but reveal a proud expression. In this small Wake City, a Great Saint Master was enough to be considered a peak expert. Their leader's strength had broken through to the Great Saint Master realm, and as a member of the Zhou mercenary group, their status had also skyrocketed. The Zhou mercenary group. I didn't think that I would meet you guys as soon as I arrived in Wake City. Jianxin's gaze was somewhat cold as he stared at the 4 Zhou mercenary group members. A strong killing intent flashed through his eyes. Slowly putting down the chopsticks in his hand, Jianxin stood up and walked in front of the Zhou mercenary group members. His gaze swept over the 4 of them, and his voice was somewhat gloomy as he asked, "The 4 of you are from the Zhou mercenary group?" Hearing this, the 4 Zhou mercenary group members' gazes all landed on Jianxin. From the tone of Jianxin's words, they could already tell that he didn't have good intentions. Their gazes immediately became somewhat fierce. "That's right, we are from the Zhou mercenary group. Brathor, tell us your name." One of the Zhou mercenary group members with a somewhat explosive temper immediately shouted at Jianxin. The 4 people from the Zhou mercenary group were originally the most popular table in the restaurant. Coupled with this person's angry shout, it immediately attracted the attention of some of the mercenaries who were eating in the restaurant. Everyone's eyes were gathered on the table of the Zhou mercenary group, ready to watch a good show. "Umph." Jianxin coldly snorted. The corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a sinister smile. He didn't say anything else, and the silvery white light wind sword suddenly appeared in his right hand. With a flash of white light, the light wind sword's sharp tip had already pierced through the Zhou mercenary group member's throat at an extremely fast speed. Seeing that their companion's throat had already been pierced through, the other 3 Zhou mercenary group members were stunned for a moment. However, they quickly recovered and were all enraged. "You dare to oppose our Zhou mercenary group? You're courting death." Following an angry shout, the other 3 Zhou mercenary group members immediately took out their saint weapons and slashed towards Jianxin. In a flash, the light wind sword was pulled out from the Zhou mercenary group member's throat. Following that, a silvery white sword light flashed. Just as the 3 Zhou mercenary group members were about to swing their saint weapons, the light wind sword had already cut through 2 of their throats. Finally, it came to a stop at the neck of the last Zhou mercenary group member. Seeing that his opponent's weapon was already at his neck, the last surviving mercenary hurriedly pulled back his saint weapon in fright. His face paled as he stared at Jianxin's face that was only in his 20s in disbelief. He really found it hard to believe that with his current strength as a beginner Saint Master, he was actually not the opponent of this brat who seemed to be in his early 20s at most. Turning his eyes slightly, the mercenary group member's gaze moved towards the other 2 Zhou mercenaries. All he saw was a streak of red liquid flowing out from their necks. Following that, the 2 Zhou mercenaries' bodies simultaneously fell backwards. Seeing this scene, the remaining Zhou mercenary group member was immediately scared to death. His heart was filled with panic as he hurriedly begged for mercy. "Don't kill me, don't kill me. Great hero, please spare my life. If you have something to say, we can talk it out. If you have something to say, please don't kill me. I'll do whatever you want me to do." Chapter 211. With a sword pointed at his throat, the mercenary didn't dare to disobey. Without any hesitation, he agreed to Jianxin's request and brought Jianxin to the Zhou mercenary group's headquarters. His face was still filled with fear. When Jianxin and the Zhou mercenary group member left the restaurant, the originally silent restaurant suddenly burst into an uproar. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief as they stared at the 3 dead Zhou mercenary group members lying on the ground. "Who is that young brat? He's actually so strong. I didn't even see how he killed the Zhou mercenary group members. His speed was too fast, so fast that I couldn't even see it clearly. It's really too hard to believe. I'm already in my 40s, but my strength is only at the low Saint Master level. That young man looks to be in his 20s at most, but he was actually able to kill the Zhou mercenary group members who were even stronger than me. It's really too unbelievable. That young man's strength is too strong. I think he's at least at the great Saint Master level. The Zhou mercenary group must have offended him before, so he came today to seek revenge." The Zhou mercenary group's leader, Zhou Yun, also has the strength of a great Saint Master. Not only that, they also have many Saint Master level experts. That young man is going to the Zhou mercenary group's headquarters to find trouble with them. I wonder if he's a match for the Zhou mercenary group. The mysterious young expert is coming to seek revenge on the Zhou mercenary group. The battle will definitely be very exciting. I definitely have to go and see. Right? There's definitely going to be an exciting battle. Let's quickly go and see. Let's go and see. We definitely can't miss out on such an exciting battle. Soon after, the people in the restaurant also called out to each other and followed them out. In the blink of an eye, the restaurant that was originally almost full became empty. Xianxia didn't point his light wind sword at the Zhou mercenary group's member. Instead, he followed behind him at a leisurely pace. Although Xianxia didn't seem to be paying attention to the Zhou mercenary group's member at all, as long as the Zhou mercenary group's member tried to escape, Xianxia's light wind sword would instantly pierce his throat. About 50 meters behind Xianxia, there was a large group of people coming out of the restaurant. The headquarters of the Zhou mercenary group was located in the eastern region of Wake City. It was a large mansion, and above the entrance of the mansion, there was a signboard with the words Zhou Mercenary Group written in flamboyant calligraphy. In front of the mansion's entrance, there were 4 fully armed mercenaries standing there with their backs straight. Looking at the huge plaque above the courtyard, Xianxia couldn't help but reveal a somewhat sinister smile. A dense killing intent flashed in his eyes as he slowly walked towards the door. This is the territory of the Zhou mercenary group. Or you state your name. Just as Xianxia approached the door, one of the guards at the entrance stopped Xianxia and stared at him fiercely. Xianxia coldly snorted as a silver light flashed in his right hand. In the next moment, the neck of the mercenary who had shouted at Xianxia began to spurt out fresh blood like a fountain. The Zhou mercenary group's member tightly gripped his neck with a pained expression on his face before his entire body fell to the ground. Seeing their comrade fall to the ground, the other 3 guards were stunned for a moment before immediately coming back to their senses and angrily staring at Xianxia. How dare you kill people in our Zhou mercenary group's territory? You must be tired of living. Following one of the guards' words, 2 of them immediately took out their saint weapons and slashed towards Xianxia. The last guard quickly opened the door and ran in to report. However, just as the 2 of them were about to move, Xianxia's light wind sword turned into a silver light and pierced through their throats at a speed that they couldn't even react to. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 guards at the entrance had been killed by Xianxia. Only the last guard was able to escape. Coldly looking at the 3 corpses on the ground, Xianxia's gaze landed on the plaque above the entrance and muttered, "The Zhou mercenary group, from today onwards, your name is no longer in Wake City." As soon as he finished speaking, Xianxia leapt into the air. His light wind sword transformed into a hazy sword shadow that enveloped the entire signboard. In the blink of an eye, the signboard was cut into pieces. After destroying the plaque, Xianxia directly kicked the tightly shut door. With a bang sound, the 3-inch thick wooden door was kicked out of its frame by Xianxia and flew towards the ground like a hidden weapon. Boom! However, just as the door flew inside, an even louder explosion sounded out. The huge wooden door was smashed into pieces and a large amount of wooden shards flew in all directions. Who dares to make things difficult for our Zhou mercenary group? At the same time, a voice filled with endless anger sounded out from inside. Xianxia was not in a hurry as he walked in step by step. His footsteps were light as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. His expression was indifferent as if he did not care about the Zhou mercenary group at all. When Xianxia walked into the courtyard, the scene inside entered his eyes. Right in front of him was a large open space with a middle-aged man wearing a blue robe standing there. The middle-aged man was around 50 years old and had several scars on his face, making him look somewhat fierce and terrifying. Behind the middle-aged man, there were already more than 20 people standing there. Moreover, there were still people rushing over from all around the house. In a short moment, the open space was filled with over 100 people and Xianxia was surrounded in the middle. The middle-aged man with scars on his face looked at Xianxia with a sharp gaze and said in a deep voice, "Brat, who are you and why are you making things difficult for our Zhou mercenary group?" Xianxia glanced around coldly and ignored the middle-aged man's words. Instead, he asked, "Is everyone from your Zhou mercenary group here?" Hearing this, the middle-aged man frowned and coldly said, "What do you mean by that?" Chapter 212. Jianxin's calm words caused the faces of the Zhou mercenaries to change greatly. Immediately, each and every one of them glared fiercely at Jianxin, their eyes filled with killing intent and anger. The middle-aged man's face became gloomy as he glared fiercely at Jianxin. With a cold snort, he angrily shouted, "Brat, you don't have the qualifications to say such words. Men, take him down. Let this arrogant brat understand that our Zhou mercenary group is not a place where anyone can behave atrociously." Following the middle-aged man's command, the mercenaries surrounding Jianxin did not hesitate in the slightest. One by one, they took out their saint weapons and charged towards Jianxin from all directions. The corners of Jianxin's mouth curled up into a sneer as his body flickered and disappeared from where he was standing. Following his disappearance, all of the weapons that were flying towards him also missed. Jianxin's speed was extremely fast as he shuttled through the battlefield. His light wind sword was like a bolt of lightning as it pierced through the air. Every time his sword pierced through a person's throat, the Saint and Great Saint Realm mercenaries did not even have the time to react before they were killed one by one. Among them, there were many who did not even know how they died. Although Jianxin was fighting alone against over 100 people, the difference in strength between the two sides was simply too great. Thus, the situation was a one-sided massacre. The Zhou mercenaries were completely powerless against Jianxin. They could not even catch a glimpse of Jianxin's figure. Under Jianxin's fast-killing speed, 1 or 2 people were killed in the blink of an eye. In just a few breaths of time, 7 or 8 people had died under his sword. This scene lasted for only 5 breaths of time. Out of the 100 or so people of the Zhou mercenary group, nearly 50 of them were lying on the ground. The middle-aged man with the scars on his face stared blankly at Jianxin, who was like a killing machine. His face was filled with disbelief. In less than 10 seconds, Jianxin had killed 50 people. Such a fast killing speed had scared the middle-aged man silly. Jianxin was dressed in white as he moved back and forth in the crowd like flowing water. Wherever he went, the people around him would fall down in droves as blood splattered in the air. In this short period of time, the ground had already been dyed red by the blood that had gathered. The merciless killing was carried out silently. Only the constant shouting of the Zhou mercenary group members could be heard, but surprisingly, not a single scream was heard. This was because when their throats were cut by Jianxin, they couldn't make a single sound. Some of them didn't even feel the pain before they lost consciousness. After a few breaths of time, Jianxin finally stopped his merciless killing. At this moment, the empty space in the courtyard was filled with corpses. The 100 or so people of the Zhou mercenary group had all been killed by Jianxin. The corpses of the 100 or so people were scattered all over the ground. Each of them only had a single wound on their neck. The bright red blood flowed out from the wound and dyed the entire ground red. The thick smell of blood floated in the air and was abnormally pungent. Just taking a breath would make people feel like vomiting. Right now, only the middle-aged man with the scar on his face and the 10 or so people behind him were still alive. All of them had a sluggish expression on their faces as they couldn't believe what they had just seen. 100 or so people had been completely wiped out by a single person in just a few breaths of time. Moreover, this person was a youth who looked to be in his early 20s. Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, they still couldn't believe it. The 10 or so people were already finished. They were all scared silly by this result and stood there in a daze, unable to say a single word. When Jianxin's calm and cold eyes fell on the 10 or so people, his face revealed a cruel smile. The 100 or so people he had killed before were all saints and great saints. However, the 10 or so people in front of him were the true pillars of the Zhou mercenary group. Each of them had the strength of a saint master. Following this, Jianxin didn't waste any more words. His body moved as he quickly rushed towards the remaining 10 or so people. The light wind sword turned into a silver light, and in a flash, it effortlessly pierced through the throats of 2 of the Saint Masters and took their lives. Now that Jianxin's strength had reached the great Saint Master level, these Saint Masters were as weak as ants in his eyes. His quick sword wasn't something these Saint Masters could dodge. Towards the Zhou mercenary group, Jianxin didn't plan on letting any of them go. After killing the 2 Saint Masters, Jianshan's light wind sword once again turned into a silver light and enveloped the remaining people. Poof, poof, poof. Following the sound of the light wind sword cutting through the throats, another 3 Saint Masters were pierced through in the blink of an eye. Only at this time did the remaining Saint Masters come back to their senses. Their expressions greatly changed, and they didn't dare hesitate. They immediately used all of their strength and frantically dodged in all directions, trying to pull the monsters away from Jianshan. Stop, stop, if you have something to say, we can talk about it. Quickly stop. The middle-aged man with the knife scar on his face miserably dodged as he shouted. Right now, his expression was no longer as calm as before and was completely filled with fear. Jianshan stopped his merciless slaughter and calmly looked at the remaining Saint Masters and said, "Speak, where is the leader of your Zhou mercenary group?" Previously, Jianshan had found out that the leader of the Zhou mercenary group was a great Saint Master, but among these people, there wasn't a single one that had the strength of a great Saint Master. This could only mean that the leader of the Zhou mercenary group wasn't here. Regarding the leader of the Zhou mercenary group, Jianshan had already given the order to kill him. The man with the knife scar took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. His eyes were filled with fear as he stared at Jianshan. With a trembling voice, he said, "This little brother, I don't know how our Zhou mercenary group has offended you. Why must you be so ruthless?" At this moment, the man with the knife scar's attitude had undergone a great change. Jianshan stared at the man with the knife scar with a sharp gaze. He slowly approached the man and said, "I'll ask you one last time, where is the leader of the Zhou mercenary group?" With regards to the man with the knife scar, Jianshan completely ignored him. Seeing Jianshan approaching, the man with the knife scar nervously retreated. After a moment of hesitation, he said with a trembling voice, "Where is the leader?" "I don't know." Hearing this, Jianshan's eyes turned cold. He didn't give the man with the knife scar a chance to speak and immediately appeared in front of him. The light wind sword turned into a silver ray of light as it pierced towards the man's throat. The man with the knife scar's face changed greatly as he immediately retreated. At the same time, a large sword appeared in his hand in an attempt to block in front of him. But when he raised his large sword halfway, the light wind sword had already reached his throat and pierced deeply into it. The tip of the sword was already covered in blood as it came out from the other side of his neck. Seeing that the man with the knife scar didn't even have the strength to resist Jianshan, the remaining Saint Masters couldn't help but turn pale. They had already lost the courage to continue fighting after witnessing Jianshan's strength. "Quickly run, we'll go find the leader. Only the leader can deal with him." Among the remaining sacred experts, one of them shouted out loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, he ran out of the door with the fastest speed possible. "Right, let's go find the leader." When the others heard this, they immediately came to their senses. Without any hesitation, they all rushed out the door. Jianshan slowly pulled out the light wind sword that was still dripping with blood from the man with the knife scar's neck. He stared at the direction in which the people were running with a cold smile on his face as he leisurely followed behind them. Not long after Jianshan left, the entrance of the Zhou mercenary group's residence was immediately surrounded by a group of people. Upon closer inspection, it was the group of people that had followed them out of the restaurant. However, when the group of people looked through the broken door and saw the scene inside, their faces immediately became sluggish. Their faces were filled with disbelief and disbelief. Chapter 213. Now that Wake City was about to be attacked by magic beasts, the people living here didn't have the slightest bit of panic or fear. Apart from the atmosphere of the city being a lot more dignified than usual, everything else was the same as before. Everyone did what they were supposed to do. Wake City was very close to the magical Beast Mountain range, only 20 kilometers away. As a third-rank city that had stood tall in this area for quite some time, it had experienced countless waves of magical beasts. Relying on its sturdy city walls that were comparable to a first-rank city's walls, this small third-rank city had withstood every single magical beast attack. Therefore, the people who were born and raised here were already used to magical beast attacks. Within Wake City, Because of the news released by the City Lord's mansion and the missions given by the Mercenary Guild, there was a constant stream of mercenaries gathering in Wake City, quietly waiting for the day when the magical beasts would attack. The current Wake City streets were much more crowded than before. If one looked carefully, they would discover that the majority of these people were mercenaries. The entire street was extremely noisy. Move aside, quickly move aside. Right at this moment, a few panicked and anxious voices suddenly came from the other end of the street. Along with the commotion of the crowd on the street, several middle-aged men rushed over from the distance with panicked expressions. These middle-aged men all wore different colored clothes, but on their chests, they all had identical badges. Anyone who blocked their way was mercilessly pushed away by these middle-aged men, causing many people to curse them. As for those with bad tempers who boasted that they weren't weak, they had already taken out their weapons. It looked like they were going to settle the score with these middle-aged men. Look at the badges on their chests. Aren't they from the Zhou mercenary group? They are from the Zhou mercenary group. Why do they look so flustered? It looks like they are being chased down. When some people noticed the badges on the middle-aged men's chests, they immediately cried out in surprise. Their voices contained a bit of astonishment. When they heard that these middle-aged men were actually from the Zhou mercenary group, the mercenaries who were pushed away by them immediately suppressed the anger in their hearts. They could only glare angrily at the few of them. The Zhou mercenary company's captain, Zhou Yun, breaking through to the Great Saint Master level was not a small matter in Wake City. After all, in this small third-rank city, a Great Saint Master was already a peak-level expert. As for the Zhou mercenary company, after their captain, Zhou Yun, became a Great Saint Master, their status also suddenly rose and they became a considerable power in Wake City. Obviously, no one was willing to offend the Zhou mercenary group for such a small matter. These members of the Zhou mercenary group ran very quickly and disappeared at the end of the street in the blink of an eye. Along the way, they attracted many strange gazes from the people on the street. Not long after the Zhou mercenary group disappeared from the street, a white figure shot out from the other end of the street and chased after the Zhou mercenary group at an extremely fast speed. What's going on? Could it be that someone is looking for trouble with the Zhou mercenary group? It shouldn't be. Right now, the Zhou mercenary group already has a Great Saint Master, and their relationship with the Zhou clan is also very close. Who would dare to look for trouble with the Zhou mercenary group at this time? Such a scene caused the people on the street and the mercenaries to start guessing one after another. All kinds of discussions continued one after another. The few mercenaries that escaped from the Zhou mercenary group ran for nearly 10 kilometers in a panic before finally stopping in front of a mansion. This mansion was extremely large. Just the entrance alone was 4 meters tall and 6 meters wide. Above the entrance, there was a huge plaque with the words Zhou Clan engraved on it. These 4 words were actually completely made of gold. Just from this point, it could be seen that the owner of this mansion was not only wealthy, but also powerful. Let us in, we are from the Zhou mercenary group. We have something important to report to the leader. A member of the Zhou mercenary group hurriedly yelled at the several guards at the entrance. The guards also recognized a few of them. Seeing their panicked expressions, they knew that something big must have happened. Immediately, they didn't dare to delay and quickly let them in. Inside the Zhou clan's mansion, in a grand hall, an old man who was over 70 years old sat high up in the main seat. Below him, there were more than 10 people of different ages. The old man's gaze fell on a tall and sturdy middle-aged man wearing armor. He smiled and said, "Commander Duo Li, you don't have to worry about this matter. Our Zhou clan has been established in Wake City for dozens of years. Now that Wake City has become our home, we will definitely use all of our strength to protect Wake City from this wave of magical beasts. We will use our lives to protect the safety of Wake City." Hearing what was said, the armored middle-aged man faintly smiled. He cupped his hands and said, "With these words from the Zhou family's patriarch, this commander also feels a lot more at ease. With the addition of the Zhou family, our chances of victory are a bit greater. Especially Mr. Zhou Yun, who has already reached the Great Saint Master level. This is truly something worthy of celebration." Hearing this, a gratified smile appeared on the old man's face. However, he still modestly said, "Commander Harry is too kind. My son Zhou Yun's talent in cultivation is not outstanding. We used a large amount of demon cores, but he only managed to smoothly break through to Great Saint Master a few days ago." As he said this, the old man's gaze fell on a middle-aged man sitting below. The middle-aged man was dressed in a light blue robe. His long hair was tied into a whip and was casually draped behind his back. His pair of ordinary eyes occasionally flashed with a shrewd and sharp light. This person was the leader of the Zhou mercenary group, Zhou Yun. Just as the old man's voice fell, suddenly, a hurried shout mixed with a little bit of panic came from the outside from afar. "Leader, leader, bad news, bad news." Following the voice, a few middle-aged men wearing the Zhou mercenary group's insignia rushed in from the outside. They were in a sorry state as they loudly yelled. The actions of these few people caused many people in the hall to frown slightly. Their gazes were filled with a trace of displeasure when they looked at these few people. "Impudent, can't you see that we are in the middle of a meeting? Who allowed you to barge in without any rules?" The Zhou clan's patriarch angrily yelled at these people. "Patriarch, something bad has happened. A person with terrifying strength is seeking revenge on us. Out of the 100 or so members of our Zhou mercenary group, only a few of us managed to escape." A mercenary immediately explained to the old man sitting at the head of the table. Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. What did you just say? Out of the 100 members of the Zhou mercenary group, only a few of you managed to escape?" Sitting at the side, Zhou Yun's expression suddenly changed. He immediately stood up from his chair and shouted at these people. "Yes, leader, only a few of us managed to escape." This mercenary's expression was filled with panic. Even his voice was trembling. "Then what about the others?" Zhou Yun's expression instantly became gloomy. All dead, all dead." A mercenary replied with a trembling voice. Hearing this, a strong killing intent emitted from Zhou Yun's body. He angrily yelled, "Who did this?" Bang. Chapter 214. The sudden loud noise caused everyone in the hall to be stunned. However, everyone's faces immediately became gloomy. None of the people present were mediocre. With their hearing, they already knew from the source of the sound that it was the sound of someone breaking the door. "Impudent!" The head of the Zhou clan, who was sitting at the head of the table, fiercely slammed his palm on the armrest of his mount, causing the abnormally sturdy armrest of the throne to crack. "Who is so bold to actually dare to cause trouble in our Zhou clan? Everyone, follow me outside to take a look. I want to see who exactly is this person." The head of the Zhou clan immediately stood up from the throne and walked outside with a gloomy face. As for the other people in the hall, they were filled with anger as they followed the head of the Zhou clan out of the hall. When the head of the Zhou clan led a dozen people to the entrance of the Zhou clan, the place was already surrounded by dozens of Zhou clan guards. Even further away, there were still guards rushing over after hearing the news. At the entrance of the Zhou clan, the number of people was constantly increasing. "Quickly move aside, the head of the Zhou clan is here." A sharp-eyed guard saw the head of the Zhou clan arrive and immediately opened his mouth to shout loudly. Immediately after, the guards that tightly surrounded the entrance of the Zhou clan immediately moved aside to make a path. The scene of the Zhou clan being surrounded also fell into the eyes of the people of the Zhou clan. They saw that the person who was surrounded by the guards of the Zhou clan was a young man who seemed to be in his early 20s. The young man was wearing white clothes. Although it was a relatively cheap cloth garment, it couldn't cover up the young man's unique temperament at all. This was definitely not something that an ordinary person could possess. The young man was very handsome. His skin was as white as mutton fat and his handsome facial features were matched with a pair of jet black eyes that seemed ordinary but were filled with a strange charm. He was simply the killer of all the young girls in the world. Seeing that the person who came to cause trouble was actually a young man who was only in his early 20s, the head of the Zhou clan's eyes suddenly shot out a fierce light. He looked directly at Xianxia and said in a deep voice, "Who are you? You actually dare to cause trouble in our Zhou clan. Do you really think that our Zhou clan is easy to bully? Jianxin's expression was calm. He calmly stared at the old man who spoke and asked indifferently, "Who are you?" Seeing Jianxin's disdainful attitude, the Zhou clan's patriarch's gaze turned cold, and he coldly said, "Old man is the Zhou clan's patriarch, Zhou Badong. Oh, so you are the patriarch of the Zhou clan." A faint smile appeared on Jianxin's face. He then cupped his hands and said, "I'm Jianxin. I'm here to ask for a person. As long as the Zhou clan is willing to hand over that person, I'll leave immediately." Zhou Badong was so angry that he started laughing. He said, "You want someone? Ha, what an ignorant brat. You actually dare to come to our Zhou clan and ask for someone. Brat, in Wake City, there aren't many people who dare to behave atrociously in our Zhou clan. You're the first." Jianxin laughed and said, "It seems like I should feel honored. Patriarch Zhou, I won't waste any more words with you. I wonder if the Zhou clan's mercenary group's leader, Zhou Yun, is here." "I am Zhou Yun." Just as Jianxin finished speaking, Zhou Yun stepped out from the crowd. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Jianxin like a hungry wolf. His face was gloomy as he said, "I heard that you have already massacred my Zhou clan's mercenary group. Is this true?" "That's right." Hearing these words, Zhou Yun could no longer hold himself back. His eyes turned red as an intense killing intent began to emanate from his body. Immediately after, a long spear appeared in Zhou Yun's hand. He said in a low voice, "You dare to destroy the mercenary group that I spent over 20 years to establish. Brat, no matter who you are, Zhou Yun, will make you suffer. I will make you suffer all the torments in the world and avenge my brothers who died." As soon as he finished speaking, an intense amount of Saint Qi surged out from the long spear in Zhou Yun's hand. The long spear in Zhou Yun's hand turned into a blur as it pierced towards Jianxin. Jianxin's face revealed a trace of a cold smile. The silver-white light wind sword appeared in his right hand in a flash as he thrust it out like lightning. Ding! The light wind sword's sharp sword Qi collided with Zhou Yun's long spear in midair. Following a clear ding sound, the energy from the two saint weapons collided and immediately formed a visible ripple of energy that spread out in all directions. Along the way, the dust on the ground was blown away, causing the entire area to be covered in a dusky haze. Some of the weaker guards who were standing in the area were pushed back by the energy ripple. After blocking Zhou Yun's long spear, Jianxin did not stop moving. He immediately closed the distance between him and Zhou Yun. Following a flash of silver-white light, the light wind sword pierced towards Zhou Yun's throat with lightning speed. The speed of the sword was extremely fast. By the time Zhou Yun realized that the sword was coming, the light wind sword was already less than a foot away from his throat. Zhou Yun's face suddenly changed, but the rich experience accumulated from many years of battle made him not panic in the face of danger. He immediately retreated as fast as he could, and at the same time, the long spear that he had thrust out was instantly retracted, and then he immediately blocked in front of himself. Ding! The moment Zhou Yun used his long spear to block in front of him, the light wind sword's tip had already pierced through the spear shaft. A powerful force was transmitted from the light wind sword through the long spear and into Zhou Yun's body. Zhou Yun was immediately pushed back several steps. Although he managed to block the fatal blow, Zhou Yun's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. His face was slightly pale, and his heart was filled with shock. What a fast sword! How could his sword be so fast? I almost couldn't react in time. Although Zhou Yun was a great Saint Master, he hadn't been a great Saint Master for long. He was only at the initial stage of a great Saint Master. In Jianxin's eyes, Zhou Yun's strength was only a bit stronger than a high-level Saint Master. However, just as this thought appeared in Zhou Yun's mind, before he could control his body that was continuously retreating, a white dot of light rapidly enlarged in his eyes. This time, the speed was actually a bit faster than before. In a short moment, the light wind sword had already reached Zhou Yun's throat. At this moment, Zhou Yun's face was still filled with disbelief. This sword was just too fast. It was so fast that he didn't even have time to react. However, Just when Zhou Yun thought that he was going to die, his vision blurred and a huge sword the size of a palm appeared out of thin air in front of him. At the same time, Zhou Yun felt a pair of strong hands grabbing his shoulders and throwing him back. Ding! With a light sound, the sword that was originally aimed at Zhou Yun's throat suddenly pierced through the giant sword that was blocking it. The person holding the giant sword was actually the Zhou clan's clan head, Zhou Budong. However, the current Zhou Budong gave off the feeling of a sharp sword that had been unsheathed. The sharpness that had been hidden in the scabbard for an unknown period of time had finally been revealed. Chapter 215. At this moment, the face of the Zhou clan's patriarch, Zhou Budong, had already become extremely serious. The gaze he used to look at Jianchen had already lost its previous contempt. Although the latter's age was still extremely young in his eyes, right now he was already looking at him with the attitude of facing an opponent of the same level. He did not dare to underestimate or be careless in the slightest. This was because from the few times that Jianchen had attacked before, he had already seen how powerful Jianchen was. Previously, if he had not acted in time, his son Zhou Yun would have already lost his life. Moreover, just now, when he had saved Zhou Yun from Jianchen's hands, he had also used his full strength, exploding his speed to the extreme. Only then was he able to save Zhou Yun in a dangerous situation. This was because the speed of Jianchen's 3 consecutive sword strikes was extremely fast. Even with his current strength, he had to be careful when dealing with them. Especially the third sword, the speed of that explosion was something that even he had to be cautious of. Zhou Butong's heart was secretly shocked. Jianchen's age seemed to be only a little over 20 years old. Such a young age, yet he possessed such great strength. With his rich life experience, from this point alone, he began to secretly guess Jianchen's background. He did not believe that a youth without any background could reach the strength of a great Saint Master at such a young age. Zhou Butong's face was serious as he stared at Jianchen. In a deep voice, he said, "I wonder which clan this little friend is from, and what grudges do you have with my son Zhou Yun? Perhaps this is all a misunderstanding." Whether it is a misunderstanding or not, I naturally know in my heart. There are some things in the past that I do not wish to bring up again. Today, I will definitely kill Zhou Yun. If your Zhou clan stays out of this, then naturally nothing will happen. However, if you want to get involved, then today, I will erase your Zhou clan's name from this place. Jianchen's tone was very calm, but within this calm tone, it was filled with arrogance. When these words were heard by the people of the Zhou clan, their faces immediately became gloomy. Pairs of eyes filled with killing intent gathered on his body one after another. However, Jianchen's expression didn't change in the face of the numerous fierce gazes, and his expression was still calm and composed. Upon hearing Jianchen's words, Zhou Butong's expression turned incomparably gloomy. Glaring fiercely at Jianchen, he said, "Little friend, your tone is a little too arrogant. I admit that your strength is not bad, but with just your strength alone, you want to destroy my Zhou clan? Do you really think that my Zhou clan is made of mud? Zhou family head, it seems like you are determined to protect Zhou Yun." Jianchen's tone gradually turned cold, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Zhou Budong waved the giant sword in his hand and coldly said, "If you want to take my son's life, then let's see if you have the ability." Wait. Just as the two sides were about to draw their swords, a voice suddenly sounded out. The person who spoke was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man wearing armor standing behind Zhou Budong. The middle-aged man wearing armor walked out with large strides, stopping between Jianchen and Jianchen. With a smile on his face, he said to Jianchen, "Little brother, can you sit down and talk about the grievances between you and the Zhou clan? If you can turn a big matter into a small one, and a small matter into a small one, that would be for the best. Why must you insist on fighting and killing? Especially since Wake City is about to be attacked by a wave of magical beasts. This is a time where we need to be united. We cannot fight at this juncture. After all, this concerns the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in Wake City. I hope little brother will reconsider." Perhaps because he saw that Jianchen's strength was not ordinary, the middle-aged man's tone was extremely gentle. Jianqin's gaze fell on the middle-aged man. His gaze lingered on the armor he was wearing, and he calmly asked, "Who are you?" Towards Jianqin's tone, the middle-aged man's face did not reveal the slightest trace of anger. Instead, he smiled and said, "My name is Duoli. I am the commander of Wake City's defense forces. I am in charge of the entire city's defense forces. So it is Commander Duoli. Commander Duoli, please step back. This is a matter between me and them. I do not wish for others to be involved." Jianqin opened his mouth to speak. Commander Duoli sighed and said, "Little brother, this is not a normal time. Can't we all sit down and have a good talk?" Jianqin shook his head slightly. "There is no room for discussion. Commander Duoli, please step back. Commander Duoli, don't get involved in this matter. Since this brat who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth wants to destroy my Zhou clan, then I will let him see the strength of my Zhou clan. Furthermore, the Zhou mercenary group that my son painstakingly created was also destroyed by this brat. Tell me, is there any room for discussion?" Zhou Badong said with a gloomy face. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked at Jianqin. "Arrogant brat, let me personally deal with you." As he spoke, Zhou Butong's body transformed into a blur as he charged towards Jianqin. The gigantic sword in his hand was brimming with saint force as it tore through the air with an ear-piercing sound, slashing towards Jianqin's head. Jianqin's eyes turned cold. His light wind sword turned into a ray of silver light as it met the incoming large sword. Seeing that the situation had escalated to a point of no return, Commander Duoli's eyebrows wrinkled as he muttered, "Wake City is about to face the threat of the demon beast wave. Although this youth is young, his strength has already reached the great Saint Master level. This is a very powerful force. At this critical moment, we cannot allow either side to suffer any losses. If we want to resolve this grudge, then we can only go find the city lord." Thinking up to this point, Commander Harry did not dare to delay any longer. He immediately left the area and ran as fast as he could towards the city lord's mansion. In the courtyard of the Zhou clan, Jianqin was fighting alone with a group of people. The patriarch of the Zhou clan, Zhou Badong, was also a great Saint Master. He had reached the peak of the great Saint Master level 20 years ago and was only a step away from becoming an Earth Saint Master. However, because breaking through to the Earth Saint Master level was extremely dangerous, and he did not have complete confidence that he could successfully break through to the Earth Saint Master level, his strength had remained at the peak of the Great Saint Master level for the past 20 years. The light wind sword in Jianqin's hand danced as he continuously attacked Zhou Badong. His attacks seemed to be endless, each one faster than the last. Facing Jianqin's inconceivably fast sword techniques, Zhou Badong had to focus all of his attention. He had to use all of his strength as a peak Great Saint Master. Even so, with the help of a group of guards, he could only barely match up to Jianqin. Chapter 216. The battle had only lasted for a short while, but more than 20 of the Zhou clan's guards had already died. Looking at these dead guards, Zhou Butong's expression did not change at all. These guards were all hired by him and were not part of the Zhou clan. Therefore, the death of these guards did not affect the Zhou clan's strength in the slightest. If worse came to worst, he could just hire more in the future. "All of you attack him together. Whoever can injure him, I will reward them with 1,000 purple coins. If you can capture him, I will reward you with 10,000 purple coins." Zhou Badong commanded loudly. With such a great reward, there would definitely be brave men. Hearing Zhou Butong's generous reward, the eyes of the group of guards began to burn with passion. One by one, they charged towards Jianqin as if they did not care about their lives. One by one, they slashed their saint weapons at Jianqin from all directions. They did not hope to capture Jianqin, but only hoped to leave a small wound on his body. Jianqin's gaze became colder and colder, following which the light wind sword's aura exploded, forming a dense sword shadow that enveloped the entire area. In a short moment, the light wind sword collided with the incoming saint weapons at a speed that could not be seen with the naked eye. Ding, 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 ding. Following the sound of the weapons colliding, the surrounding saint weapons were all broken into two. As for those who had their saint weapons destroyed, their faces turned pale in an instant. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, they fell to the ground, unable to get up. Among them, there were 3 who died. A saint weapon was closely related to its owner's name. If a saint weapon was damaged, it would bring a certain amount of damage to its owner. The situation of a saint weapon being destroyed was even more serious. In light cases, the owner would lose all of their cultivation and become a cripple who could no longer cultivate. In heavy cases, they would directly die. These people's saint weapons had been cut in 2 by Jianshan and were completely destroyed. Even if they did not die, they would become cripples in the future. However, the surrounding bodyguards had already been knocked unconscious by Zhou Butong's heavy injuries. The fate of these few people and those who had already collapsed did not scare them away. Instead, it made them rush forward even more ferociously, as if they were afraid that this reward would be snatched away by someone else. After all, just 1,000 purple crystal coins was enough for these saint and great saint guards to live happily for the rest of their lives. They might not be able to earn 1,000 purple crystal coins in their entire lives. Jianshan, who was dressed in white, continuously shuttled back and forth within the group of guards. Along with the unceasing flashes of the silver-white sword, the Zhou clan guards also fell down in droves. In just a short moment, the total number of the 100 guards had been reduced by half. The patriarch of the Zhou clan, Zhou Budong, had already retreated from the battlefield. His expression was incomparably solemn as he stared at Jianshan, who was like a killing machine, mercilessly reaping lives. Patriarch, this person's strength is very strong. Moreover, the speed of his sword is really too fast. Even I am unable to see it clearly. These guards are simply unable to dodge. If this continues, I'm afraid that these guards will not be able to hold on for long before they are all annihilated. Standing behind Jianshan, a middle-aged man also had a solemn expression as he stared at Jianshan and said in a deep voice. A cold light flashed in Zhou Budong's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "He is using such a fast sword technique. I'm afraid that the consumption of his saint force will be extremely large." Moreover, he had already gone through a battle when he destroyed the Zhou mercenary group. Right now, his saint force will definitely not be able to last for long. Let these guards exhaust his saint force first. I don't believe that his saint force is endless. Zhou Lianyun, immediately go and bring the Tiger King squad over. This time, the enemy's strength cannot be underestimated. Perhaps this battle will determine the life and death of our Zhou clan. We must do our best to deal with this. Yes, Patriarch. One of the guards accepted the order and immediately ran towards the Zhou clan's back courtyard. The merciless slaughter continued for a while. Of the Zhou clan's guards, only a dozen or so were left alive. The ground was littered with over 100 corpses. Fresh blood had already dyed the marble floor of the Zhou clan's jeep a bright red. Jianshan's body slightly swayed as he arrived in front of the last dozen or so guards. The light wind sword in his hand transformed into a blurry shadow as it flashed through the air. With extreme speed, the light wind sword lightly slashed across the necks of the last dozen or so guards, cleanly slicing through their throats. At this time, the Zhou clan's guards had all fallen. The only ones left in the courtyard were Zhou Budong and the dozen or so guards behind him. However, just as Jianshan's light wind sword slashed across the necks of the last dozen or so guards, a sharp whistling sound accompanied by a biting cold wind came from behind him. Before the attack arrived, the biting cold wind ruthlessly pressed down on Jianshan's back. Jianshan's face became slightly more serious as he quickly turned around and used the light wind sword to block in front of him. Clang! A large sword carrying 1,000 caddies of force fiercely slashed down on the light wind sword. The powerful force transmitted from the large sword caused Jianshan's body to involuntarily retreat. As he was retreating, Jianshan's body continuously moved left and right in coordination with his footsteps, using subtle movements to disperse the remaining force from his body. Ha! A thunderous roar sounded out. Zhou Budong did not give Jianshan any time to breathe as he once again swung his large sword towards Jianshan. Behind him, the 10 people behind Zhou Budong also unsheathed their saint weapons and charged towards Jianshan. Among them was Zhou Yun, the leader of the Zhou mercenary company, who had only recently become a great saint master. Jianshan was not afraid at all as he used the light wind sword to meet Zhou Butong's large sword. When the two saint weapons collided in midair, a violent energy ripple burst out and rapidly spread out in all directions, destroying some of the surrounding flowers and plants. After that one strike, the strong recoil caused Jianshan's body to be pushed back 6 steps before he could regain his footing. Zhou Butong had also been pushed back 3 steps at the same time. Chapter 217. Jianshan's footwork changed, and his body moved 2 meters to the side like a ghost, dodging the attacks of the 10 people. However, the 10 people's reaction speed was also very fast. Even though their attacks had missed, they didn't stop and immediately chased after Jianshan. At the same time, the spear in Zhou Yun's hand was filled with surging Saint Qi as it shot towards Jianshan's heart like a bolt of lightning. Zhou Yun had already used all of his strength in this attack. The corners of Jianshan's mouth curled up into a cold smile. Although the 10 people's attacks seemed very fierce, at most they would only give Jianshan a bit of pressure. Jianshan really didn't put them in his eyes. Jianshan's arm suddenly shook, and the light wind sword turned into a blur as it pierced out. In that short moment, the light wind sword had already pierced out 10 times, colliding with the saint weapons that were coming at him. Although the light wind sword looked very small, and couldn't be compared to the saint weapons of the 10 people in front of him, it still contained a very large amount of power. When the 10 saint weapons collided with the light wind sword, they were all bounced back by the light wind sword's powerful force. The expressions of the dozen or so saint weapon wielders changed at the same time. They had never imagined that this seemingly unassuming sword, which was only as thick as 2 fingers, would actually contain such a powerful force. This time, when they clashed, their hands that were holding onto their weapons were slightly numb from the impact. While everyone was still in shock, a white light that was so fast that it was hard for the naked eye to catch grew bigger and bigger in front of their eyes at an unbelievable speed. In the end, before they could react, the white light streaked across their necks like lightning. The bodies of the dozen or so people immediately stiffened. On their necks, a bright red wound slowly appeared. Then, the wound continued to expand. In the end, blood gushed out like a fountain. Among them, only the great Saint Master Zhou Yun managed to dodge the attack. The rest of them had their throats slit by the light wind sword. After killing more than 10 people, Jianshan did not stop. His body swayed slightly as he charged toward the escaping Zhou Yun. Zhou Yun immediately paled in fright when he saw Jianshan charge towards him. He knew from his previous clash with Jianshan that he was definitely not a match for Jianshan. He would not be able to last long at all. Zhou Yun did not want to fight Jianshan alone. He immediately retreated and dodged to the side. "Brat, Zhou Butong will not let you leave this place alive." Following a loud shout, Zhou Butong, his face filled with killing intent, immediately moved in front of Jianshan, blocking him from pursuing Zhou Yun. Right now, Zhou Butong's eyes were already bloodshot. The dozen or so people from before were the backbone of the Zhou clan. To the Zhou clan, they were as important as pillars. Not only did they all have the strength of a saint master, they were also quite intelligent in business. They were practically in charge of all the businesses of the Zhou clan. Now that these pillars had died, the Zhou clan's losses were quite disastrous. Jianshan coldly snorted and said, "Originally, your Zhou clan could have stayed out of this matter, but since you insist on interfering, then your Zhou clan's destruction has already become a foregone conclusion. You want to kill me? Based on your current strength, you do not have the ability to do so." After he finished speaking, Jianshan did not hesitate. The light wind sword in his hand brought out a series of sword shadows as he attacked Zhou Butong. At this time, a small group of armored people suddenly rushed out from the backyard of the Zhou clan. There weren't many people in this small group. There were only about 20 of them. However, this group of people was very disciplined. It was as if they were a well-trained army. Even the footsteps of their feet were exactly the same when they were running at high speed. "Patriarch, the Tiger King squad has been brought here." A middle-aged man at the front of the group called out to Zhou Butong. Hearing this, Zhou Butong's spirit was roused. His figure was somewhat embarrassed as he dodged Jianshan's long sword. His gaze shot towards the group of 20 people and he immediately shouted, "Tiger King Squad, listen to my orders. Immediately kill this brat in front of us." The Tiger King Squad was a group that the Zhou clan had spent nearly 30 years of time and a large amount of money to raise. From the original 300 people, they had gone through countless battles of life and death. Today, only 20 people were left in front of Zhou Yun. And these 20 people of the Tiger King Squad were already the strongest force in the Zhou clan. Yes. The 20 members of the Tiger King Squad replied in unison. Their running speed suddenly increased, and each of them shot towards Jianshan like cannonballs. Feeling the aura of the Tiger King Squad members, Jianshan was slightly surprised. This was because these 20 members of the Tiger King Squad all had the strength of a Saint Master. This should be the trump card of the Zhou clan. Jianshan thought to himself. Just as he was thinking, the members of the Tiger King Squad had already crossed the 100-meter distance and arrived in front of Jianshan. They brandished their saint weapons and slashed towards Jianshan. Zhou Butong and Zhou Yun, the two Saint Masters, also cooperated with the Tiger Fong Squad to attack Jianshan. Jianshan continuously moved his feet, dodging the attacks of Zhou Butong and Zhou Yun. The light wind sword transformed into a silvery white light, and before the Tiger King Squad members' attacks could land on him, the sharp tip of the light wind sword had already cut through their throats. After that, Jianshan's body turned into a blur as he shuttled back and forth between the Tiger King Squad members. The silvery white light of the light wind sword flashed continuously as the Tiger Fong Squad members' throats were cut, mercilessly reaping their lives. In the blink of an eye, the 20 members of the Tiger King Squad had been wiped out by Jianshan. Seeing that the Tiger King Squad had been completely wiped out, Zhou Butong's body began to tremble. The killing intent in his eyes had reached an unprecedented level. In his heart, the Tiger King Squad was like a precious treasure. In order to raise this elite squad, he had spent far too much time and effort. Without giving Jianshan any time to think, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. The light wind sword in Jianshan's hand was covered in a layer of light as it once again pierced towards Zhou Butong. In the blink of an eye, it was already close to Zhou Butong's throat. Zhou Butong immediately used his great sword to block in front of him. When the light wind sword came into contact with the great sword, the powerful force behind the blow caused Zhou Butong to retreat a few steps. Jianshan did not give Zhou Butong any time to breathe and immediately rushed forward. This time, the speed of his sword was even faster than before. Immediately after, the third and fourth strikes were sent out at almost the same time. Each strike was incomparably fast, and each strike was faster than the one before. The fifth strike. The light wind sword transformed into a blurry shadow as it overlapped with the previous 4 strikes. The speed of this strike was so fast that it almost exceeded Zhou Butong's reaction time. Pooh! Chapter 218. Zhou Butong's face was filled with disbelief as he stared at the blood-stained sword that had pierced through his throat. His face was filled with disbelief. He could not believe that he would actually die in the hands of a little brat who was only in his early 20s. Now that he thought about this scene, Zhou Butong felt that everything was unreal. It was as if he was in a dream. Everything that had happened in less than half an hour was too sudden. Just a moment ago, he and the rest of the Zhou clan's upper echelons were still discussing with the commander of Wake City's garrison army about how to deal with the magical beast wave. But now, in less than an hour, the Zhou clan had already been annihilated. Sighing in his heart, Zhou Butong's face was filled with unwillingness as he slowly closed his eyes. Following that, his old body slowly fell to the ground. Jianshan coldly stared at Zhou Butong's body as he died. His expression did not change in the slightest. With the memories of his previous life, his mind had already become very firm. Excessive slaughter would not affect his state of mind in the slightest. Slowly pulling out the light wind sword from Zhou Butong's neck, Jianshan looked around for traces of Zhou Yun. But what he saw made his expression sink. In the entire Zhou clan's courtyard, there were only corpses everywhere. There was not a single living person, and Zhou Yun was nowhere to be found. Seeing this, Jianqin's eyes flashed as he hatefully said, "I actually let him escape." Jianqin lightly sighed. His gaze swept over the corpses that littered the ground. In the end, his gaze landed on the space belt that Zhou Badong was wearing. He took 2 steps forward, squatted down in front of Zhou Badong, and reached out his hand to take off the space belt. After all, Zhou Badong was the head of the clan, so he definitely had a lot of valuable items on him. Just as Jianqin's eyes inadvertently landed on Zhou Butong's neck, his eyes suddenly narrowed. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Zhou Butong's neck that was already dyed red with blood. At the neck, an extremely fine line appeared in Jianqin's eyes. This line was extremely well hidden. Normally, it would be difficult to notice it with the naked eye. Now that it was dyed red with blood, it was exposed. Jianqin slowly pulled open the collar of Zhou Budong's shirt, only to see a small and exquisite ring bound by a string, hanging on Zhou Butong's chest. When he discovered the space ring, Jianqin's eyes could not help but light up. He exclaimed in a low voice, "It's actually a space ring." Jianqin's voice contained traces of delight. For this spatial ring to be so secretively guarded by Zhou Budong, the items inside must be extremely valuable. Who knows, it might even be Zhou Budong's entire body. After removing the interspatial ring from Jianqin's chest, Jianqin felt a little bit of excitement in his heart. However, at this time, it was clearly not the time to examine the contents of the interspatial ring. After keeping the interspatial ring, Jianqin did not stay for too long and immediately left the Zhou clan's large courtyard. Just as Jianqin left, in front of the Zhou clan's large courtyard, many people who had heard the news immediately rushed over. They had all been attracted by the sounds of battle from before. However, when they saw the scene within the Zhou clan's courtyard, everyone's eyes suddenly became lifeless. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The Zhou clan, in such a short period of time, had been completely exterminated. Out of the way, all of you out of the way. At this time, an extremely domineering voice came from behind the crowd. Following that, the crowd that had completely surrounded the Zhou clan's main gate to the point that not even a drop of water could trickle through. A group of armored soldiers, like a sharp knife, directly cut through the crowd and entered from the outside. Isn't that Wake City's Lord Mayor? I didn't think that at this time, he would also be alerted. When the crowd's gaze landed on a middle-aged man walking in the middle of the group of soldiers, they immediately cried out in alarm. This middle-aged man was wearing a long black robe. He had a tall stature and a pair of fierce eyes that were as sharp as swords. Ordinary people would not even dare to look him in the eye. This middle-aged man had bronze skin, even the skin on his face was bronze. Coupled with his tall and sturdy stature, he looked quite formidable. This person was Wake City's Lord, Yunli. Wake City's Lord Yunli, under the protection of a group of soldiers, walked into the Zhou clan's large courtyard. The moment he stepped through the main gate, he saw that the ground was covered in blood and a large number of corpses. Yunli's footsteps came to an abrupt halt. His expression was incomparably solemn as he swept his gaze across the ground covered with corpses. Finally, his expression changed slightly as he fixed his gaze on Zhou Budong, who was lying on the ground. Yunli let out a heavy sigh as he closed his eyes in sorrow. Standing beside him, Wake City's city guard commander Duo Li also let out a sigh. His gaze was filled with disbelief as he stared at the ground covered with corpses. Somewhat absent-mindedly, he muttered, "Lord Mayor, we were still a step too late." After a short moment, Yunli finally opened his eyes again. His gaze was filled with traces of light as he carefully examined each of the corpses. In the end, his heart was secretly alarmed. This was because he suddenly discovered that all of the wounds on these corpses were actually at the neck. Moreover, they were all fatal, including the Zhou clan's patriarch, Zhou Budong. Duo Li, is the person who came to seek revenge on the Zhou clan really a youth who is not older than 20 years old? Yun Li's gaze was fixed on the city guard commander Duo Li as he asked in a low voice. "Yes, Lord Mayor. From his appearance, he is indeed only in his early 20s. He is extremely young. Commander Duo Li hurriedly replied. Hearing this, Yun Li went silent. After thinking for a moment, he said, although the Zhou clan has been exterminated, causing our Wake City's ability to resist the wave of magical beasts to weaken, since another young expert has come to our Wake City, we should try our best to rope him in and have him help us resist the wave of magical beasts. Lord Mayor is wise. This subordinate also thinks the same. Commander Duo Li opened his mouth with a solemn expression. Let's go. While he is still far away, let's immediately chase after him. After speaking, Yun Li took the lead and quickly walked outside. Commander Duo Li brought a group of guards and followed closely behind. Soon after, Yun Li quickly chased after Jianxin's bloody footprints on the ground. Jianxin slowly walked on the streets with his brows slightly furrowed. In his mind, he was thinking about how to find Uncle Kendall's family. Although Wake City wasn't big, it still had a population of several 100,000 people. Wanting to find 1 or 2 people in this population of several 100,000 people wasn't that easy. Furthermore, even now, Jianxin still wasn't sure if Uncle Kendall's family lived in Wake City. If they didn't live in Wake City, then finding them in this vast sea of people was undoubtedly as difficult as finding a needle in a haystack. Uncle Kendall, don't worry. No matter what, I will find your family and take good care of them. At the very least, I will let them live a carefree life. Jianxin secretly swore in his heart. However, before finding Uncle Kendall's family, he still had one more thing to do. That was to completely eliminate the Tianxiong clan. Back then, Jianxin had been chased by the Tianxiong clan and had fled Wake City in a sorry state. It could be said that his impression of it was extremely deep. He would never forget it. Furthermore, he also understood that he had killed Tianxiong Lai's only child, Tianxiong Kong. The hatred between him and the Tianxiong clan had already reached a point where it couldn't be resolved. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.